You know that little voice in your head, the one that says, hey, you're doing okay, you're good enough? It feels comforting, right? But what if that voice is actually a trap? Today, we are diving deep into self-justification and how this tiny, harmless-seeming habit might just be the biggest wall between who you are and who you could become. I want you to just let this question sink in for a second. It's been echoing for almost 3,000 years. It's a huge challenge to our ego. It's basically asking, are any of us ever really done? Can any of us look in the mirror and honestly say, yep, I've made my heart clean, I am pure? So why are we talking about an ancient proverb now? Because believe it or not, it points directly to a psychological blind spot that quietly sabotages our growth, our relationships, and even our integrity every single day. And that blind spot, it has a name: self-justification. But this isn't really about ancient morality. It's about a cognitive shortcut, a little trick our brains love to play on us. And unfortunately, that shortcut usually leads to a dead end when it comes to personal growth. Now, this is so important to get. Self-justification isn't some deep character flaw. It's a cognitive trap. See, your brain is always trying to be efficient, to save energy by telling you a simple, positive story about yourself. The problem is, while it's busy protecting your ego, it completely shuts down the one process we absolutely need to actually get better. And here's the crazy paradox of it all. The second we convince ourselves that we're good, a good employee, a good partner, a good person, our brain basically goes, mission accomplished. And that critical drive to keep learning, to keep adapting, to correct our mistakes, poof, it just vanishes. Okay, so what is actually going on inside our skulls when we fall into this trap? The science here is it's awesome. And it reveals how telling ourselves we're good can literally give us a license to behave badly. Psychologists have a term for this: moral licensing. Think of it like you have a moral bank account. When you do something good, you make a deposit, and you feel all virtuous and proud, right? But then, without even realizing it, you feel like you have permission to make a withdrawal, to cut a corner, or maybe tell a white lie, because hey, you've already proven you're one of the good guys. And get this, we can actually see this happening in the brain. You have this built-in error detector called the anterior cingulate cortex, or ACC. When you're in a learning mode, your ACC is fired up. It's on high alert, spotting mistakes so you can fix them. But when you switch to justifying mode, the activity in your ACC just plummets. Your brain literally hits the mute button on its own alarm system, making you blind to your own mistakes. So the big takeaway here is that this isn't harmless. Not at all. It leads to your growth just stopping, because you literally can't see what needs to be fixed. It pumps up that self-serving bias, where every success is because of you and every failure is someone else's fault. And it makes you act inconsistently, because you're always cashing in those good person chips. Okay, so that's the problem. And yeah, it sounds pretty deeply wired into us. But here's the fantastic news. There is a simple, incredibly powerful, and science-backed way to fight back. And it only takes about 15 minutes. Let's walk through it. To really see how this works, let's look at a quick story about a guy named Taichi. He stays late at work to help his team, a genuinely good deed. He feels like a model employee. But the next day, that good feeling, that I'm a good employee thought, gives him the unconscious license to fudge an expense report. His excuse? I earned this. That one good deed became a permission slip for a tiny bit of dishonesty. The thing is, we've all been Tai Chi in some small way, right? We use one good act to excuse a less than good one. So how in the world do we consciously interrupt this automatic process? How do we keep our brain's error detectors switched on? Well, the solution is a brilliant little tool called an if-then plan. It works just like this. If you catch yourself thinking that thought, I'm pretty good, or I've done enough, then you immediately take a counteraction. You don't beat yourself up. You just write down one specific thing from the last week you could have done better. Just one. And then you spend 15 minutes taking one small, concrete step to fix it. And why only 15 minutes? That's the magic of it. It's so small that it doesn't seem threatening, so it sneaks right past your brain's natural resistance to big, scary changes. But here's the key. Scientists have found that this short burst of action is just enough to break your mental inertia. It's like a jolt that wakes up the error correction loop in your brain, flipping that AC switch back on and pulling you out of justify mode and back into learning mode. So, let's wrap all this up. The whole point of breaking this self-justification cycle is not to become some hypercritical person who beats themselves up over every little thing. No way. It's about a much bigger, much healthier shift in your whole mindset. This, right here, is the core idea. That ancient proverb wasn't trying to make us feel hopeless. It was a reminder that the journey of self-improvement never really ends. It's not about reaching some flawless destination. It's about staying engaged in the process of becoming better. You see, the opposite of self-justification isn't self-hatred. It's humility. It's having the wisdom to know you'll never be perfect, but having the courage to keep moving forward anyway. Valuing that tiny 1 millimeter step forward every single day, that's what saves you from the trap of, I'm good enough, and the despair of, I'll never be perfect. So I'm going to leave you with this question. Your brain is hardwired for comfort. It wants to settle into that easy, cozy story that you're good enough. Now that you know this, what are you going to choose? Are you going to accept the comfortable illusion? Or are you going to choose the rewarding, lifelong work of getting just a tiny bit better day after day? The choice is all yours.